fantasy football season approaching in the next couple weeks, and drafts even starting this weekend for some fantasy owners. Here's the top 15 defense DST units I'm ranking heading into the season. Number 1, the San Francisco 49ers. So this defense is always amongst the league leaders in points allowed every season is San Francisco, where it's tough to score on this team, and especially when the offense gets off to a quick start for San Francisco. Nick Bosa and this defense really gets to work and starts teeing off on opposing quarterbacks. And plus season, I think the competition in the division is going to be a little bit better for this 49er team. Arizona, they got playmakers, Kyler Murray healthier this season, Marvin Harrison in the NFL draft, Trey McBride, adding Zay Jones in free agency, James Conner. Also, you got Los Angeles Rams, where they had a renaissance last season, led by Kyren Williams and Puka Nacua, 2 young players coming out of nowhere, contributing monster numbers. So definitely going to be a tougher season for San Francisco. But still, they're going to be an offense that gets off to an early start, and they make offenses one-dimensional. And that's where Nick Bosa and this defense really gets to work and gets to the quarterback. So any defense with a defensive lineman and a sack guy that's going to cause havoc and get to the quarterback and create turnovers, they're going to be a decent fantasy defense. But I think San Francisco, once again, where they lead the league in points allowed over the last few seasons, they're going to go out there once again this year, even in a better division, and play good football. Number 2, the Baltimore Ravens. We know this Raven culture over the last 20, 25 years has always been about defense, running the football, and getting to the quarterback and finishing off the plays. And that's exactly what this Baltimore defense has done over the last few seasons. It doesn't matter if they've lost players in free agency. They still go out there. They make plays as this Baltimore Raven defense. And their offense as well, once they get off to a good lead, especially at home. We've seen a lot of blowouts over the last few seasons from this Baltimore offense. And then the defense tees off and makes great offenses look bad. Just going back last year to a ball game where they blew the doors off a few opponents. So right now, Baltimore, I know week 1, tough matchup versus the Kansas City Chiefs, a team they just can't get over the hump against. But maybe we'll see this season if they can. And this defense, once again, I believe is going to go out there and have a big fantasy season. Number 3, the New York Jets. So this Jet defense, on paper, obviously loaded, led by Sauce Gardner in the secondary, Quentin Williams as a pass rusher, CJ Mosley in the middle of the field. Just health has been an issue with him. And this Jet offense should be way better than it was last season if Aaron Rodgers could stay healthy with a Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, obviously Mike Williams if he's healthy as well on this roster. So this New York Jet defense, like I said, they got some headliners on the defensive side of the ball. Last year, the defense played good even with a poor offense. That kept the defense on the field a whole lot. And I think the Jets will go out there once again and have a productive fantasy season, especially if the offense is on the field more. The defense will rest up, and their specialty is the Jets, not turnovers. It's more sacks and points allowed, where they hold opponents down pretty well over the last couple seasons, especially when you got a good corner in that secondary. It helps the whole defense as a whole. Next DST, number 4, the Dallas Cowboys. So the Cowboys, they've lost some players in free agency. They lost their defensive coordinator that really rejuvenated this defense over the last few seasons, where they've been creating turnovers left and right with this Cowboy team. But they still have a couple key pieces on the defense. Obviously, Micah Parsons, one of the better pass rushers in the league. DeMarcus Lawrence, even though he's tailed off over the last few seasons, was his play. Von Diggs, he's coming back off an ACL injury. You got DeRon Bland, the pick 6 leader in the NFL of all time, where he's a monster ball hawk, and he's come out of nowhere over the last couple seasons for this Dallas Cowboy team. So they still got the pieces there. Obviously, though, their defensive leader, defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn's gone, and now the head coach of the Commanders. But I still believe this Cowboy defense, they're going to create turnovers. They could get to the quarterback. And when you got a good corner and an elite pass rusher, that's going to cover up a lot of holes, because the Cowboys' weakness on defense is at the linebacker position. Number 5, the Cleveland Browns. So this Brown team, it's a tough division, no doubt about it, in that AFC North. You got the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, who I think is going to have a bounce-back season. Pittsburgh Steelers, they're always in the hunt, even if they struggled in years past. And this Cleveland Brown team, we know they got the pass rusher in Myles Garrett. You know, got Denzel Ward in the secondary, who's been one of the better corners over the last few seasons. And even in a tough division, I think this Brown DST is going to be a group that's going to get to the quarterback. They're going to make some plays, and they're going to stay in ball games. We saw last season with a non-existent offense for the majority of the season that they were staying in ball games was this Cleveland Brown team because of Myles Garrett wreaking havoc on the defensive side of the ball. We're getting those big stops. Number 6, the Philadelphia Eagles. So this Eagle defense, they do give up a lot of points over the last couple seasons, and they've been in a lot of shootouts, especially in the NFC East. Even with the Commanders, had a couple shootout games over the last few years, and Dallas Cowboys, a high-powered offense in that division. But Philadelphia, we know they get to the quarterback and make the big plays when they need to, led by Brandon Graham, Slay in the secondary for Philadelphia, and they just got a nice rotation of defensive linemen and those tackles to come in. So Philadelphia, if their offense can get back to the peak where it was 2 seasons ago, get off to an early lead and start teeing off on quarterbacks and creating turnovers, they can wreak havoc. So this season, I think Philadelphia is going to turn things around. After last season, they tailed off towards the end of the year and lost in the first round of the playoffs. And it's going to start with the defense, and I think Jalen Hurts is in for an MVP type of season. Number 7, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, that's just been their motto for the longest time. Pittsburgh Steelers play great defense, run the football, and just stay in the game. And if the defense keeps you in the game, you're going to win at least 50% of the time. That's exactly what happened last season. Their offense was horrible, was Pittsburgh, with Kenny Pickett at the quarterback position. He just couldn't do much for the majority of the season. Mason Rudolph, he came in, he did some decent things for Pittsburgh, but their defense was the heart and soul of that team last season, led by Minka Fitzpatrick in the secondary. Obviously, on the defensive line, you got TJ Watt. Injury's been a problem with him. Staying healthy's been a concern, where we know Watt's capable of getting anywhere from 15 to 20 sacks on a great year. So I think this deal with DST in a tough division where there's a lot of dogfight type of ball games, like I mentioned, with Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, I like them once again as a top 10 unit. Number 8, the Kansas City Chiefs. So this Chief defense the last couple seasons has definitely improved. Chris Jones, they brought him back. He got a nice contract. He's solid on that defensive line for this Kansas City Chief team. And if their offense can get off to the hot starts once again, opposing offense is one-dimensional. That's where Kansas City really tees off and they get their points. So the last couple years, they've kept opponents' points down. They've created some turnovers. They get to the quarterback, is this Kansas City Chief unit. And that's all they need. They've won 3 Super Bowls now in 5 years with a middle-of-the-pack defense, even though the last couple seasons, I believe it's improved in points per game and creating turnovers. Number 9, the Buffalo Bills. So the Bills, they've lost tons of players in the offseason. Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, he left in free agency. Von Miller, Matt Milano, they're coming off major injuries. We don't know if they're ever going to be elite like they were again. But this Buffalo Bill team, when you got number 17 behind center, he fixes a lot of the issues, and they still got some players on defense, is this Buffalo Bill team. Over Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas, and Greg Rozier. And then if you could get a healthy Von Miller, or even half of Von Miller at health-wise, and Milano back, this defense could not miss a beat possibly, even though they lost some key pieces in the offseason. Buffalo Bill team, and I know the division they play in is definitely going to be competitive. The Jets are going to be better offensively if Rodgers is healthy. Miami is Miami with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua, and the Mike McDaniel system with Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert in the backfield. But like I said, this Buffalo Bill DST, they could still put points on the board as the offense, and they can help the defense stay off the field and stay fresh and get to the quarterback. Like I said, the weak link in that division is the New England Patriots. They versed them twice a season, even though New England, they usually split with Buffalo over the last couple seasons. This Buffalo Bill DST, get a couple of those players back, they could surprise people. Number 10, the Houston Texans. So this Texan DST, young and up-and-coming unit over the last season and change. D'Amico Ryans, he's definitely changed the culture over there in Houston, where they were a bad team for many seasons. And now they've turned things around in just 2 years with this Houston Texan team. And defense, like I said, D'Amico Ryans, one of the better defensive players in the last 15, 20 years. And that's what he's preaching to these young guys. This offseason, they revamped their defense. Danielle Hunter, Blake Cashman, and Jeff Oda, they signed to the cornerback position. Zia Al-Shakir and Danico Autry in the offseason. So they made a lot of adjustments on defense with this Houston Texan team. We saw last year, they made it to the playoffs, and then the second round, they just couldn't do anything with Houston. So right now, their offense is going to put a lot of points on the board. CJ Stroud, what a rookie year was for him. You got Joe Mixon now in the backfield. Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, great receivers. and possibly the best receiving room in all pro football. And I think this Houston Texans DST, they're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to make plays. And then we're in a division where those offenses are middle of the pack. I know Anthony Richardson's back for the Indianapolis Colts, but he could go either way possibly. Tennessee, they got the young Will Levis at the quarterback position. And the Jacksonville Jaguars got new pieces in Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis, but their offense last season for the most part struggled. So I think Houston's going to be all right this season going into the year. And they got some key pieces they added in free agency and in the NFL draft. And I got them in number 10, number 11, the Miami Dolphins. So this Miami Dolphin team, I know they give up a lot of points, but they still got some players on that defense. Obviously, they got Jalen Ramsey. They got Bradley Chubb, one of the better pass rushers still. Pro football is this Miami Dolphin team, and their offense is going to put points on the board. Where they just need the defense to make a few stops and create a few turnovers is Miami. So like I said, they got the pieces. Chubb, Jalen Phillips, he should be back. Xavier Howard, all these guys were hurt last season for this Miami Dolphin team. But if they could get them back, this defense really could play a big part for fantasy owners. And right now they're going past this 11th range where I got them ranked higher, where they're going ADP-wise in terms of defense DST rankings. But like I said, they get a few of those players back, and with the offense this Miami Dolphin team has, they can make teams one-dimensional. And they're playing in a division. I know it's tougher this season, no doubt about it, but I still believe they could go out there and make plays as Miami DST. This season, number 12, the Detroit Lions. I know the Lions, a lot of shootout ball games, especially at home and indoors, on the fast track over the last few seasons. But when you got a pass rusher like Hutchinson and he's going to go out there and make plays, he's going to erupt a lot of things. And that's what's going to happen once again this season. And this division definitely got better in the NFC North. The Bears, they upgraded big time. Green Bay Packers, just in one season, turned things around with Jordan Love starting as the quarterback with the Aaron Rodgers era over. And I believe this Detroit Lion team with the offense they have as well, a lot of good weapons, and they're projected a top 5 team in points per game they expect them to score this year. So I think the Lions, if they could just fix that defense, and Dan Campbell, obviously their head coach, preaches defense toughness and stopping opposing offenses. I think Detroit could surprise this season, and they're easily a team that's out of the top 15 in the rankings going into the year. But I like them as a surprise. Number 13, the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Chargers, offensively, it's going to be a problem for them this season. Losing a lot of pieces. Keenan Allen traded to the Chicago Bears. Mike Williams left. He signed with the Jets. Austin Eckler left, signed with the Washington Commanders. Gerald Everett left, signing with the Chicago Bears. But this Charger team still has Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa as the two main anchors on this defense. And I know Joey Bosa has always been injured at the wrong times throughout his NFL career. But when he plays and you have those two pass rushers, even though they're getting up there a little bit in age, I think this DST could go out there and make some plays. The division isn't all that tough. I think this Raider offense isn't all that great. I know Minshew won the quarterback job, but he's had games where he turns it over. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. So besides that, it's the Denver Broncos. You're getting 2 times a year. You're getting the Vegas Raiders 2 times a year. I think those offenses, this defense, could control the line of scrimmage and make some plays. I know they haven't done much in the offseason. They've definitely taken a big step back, even with Harbaugh coming in as the head coach. But he's got a culture, obviously, Harbaugh. We saw it in Michigan, winning a national championship. And he's going to bring that here to Los Angeles. So I think they're going to be an underrated unit, even though on paper they don't look that great. And they got to play the Chiefs twice a year. Is this Charger DST? I still believe a decent option. Number 14, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, the head coach, obviously, over there. And they're more of a defensive-minded team than anything is Tampa Bay. I know they lost a couple key pieces in the offseason, but that's just how the game goes. Free agency, especially on the defensive side of things, changes year by year with these players getting big money and switching teams. So like I said, this division isn't all that great. I believe in the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons, they definitely improved with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. The New Orleans Saints, I don't think their offense is really all that great. Carolina Panthers, they're going to be one of the worst teams in all pro football once again. So I think Tampa Bay, they're going to be a middle-of-the-pack defense. Last season, they were top 15 in points per game allowed, which is a good number. And their offense this year, same cast of characters with a new offensive coordinator, where I think their offense still could put points on the board. Baker Mayfield, Rashad White, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Kate Otten on that offense. And not bad. Once again, same offense coming back And this Tampa Bay Buc team, they're trying to make the playoffs this season, where last year was a nice step in the right direction for them, and in a division that isn't all that great, in my opinion. Besides, obviously, the Atlanta Falcons, an up-and-coming team. I think Tampa Bay's defense, especially playing 6 games in that division, will have some games where they feast and put up fantasy points. And the final DST I'm ranking going into the season is the Minnesota Vikings. So this Minnesota Viking team, kind of a transition mode. J.J. McCarthy, they drafted early in the NFL draft, and of course he gets hurt and he's out for the season, and they're going with Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold's never been anything in the NFL in terms of a starting quarterback. As a backup to come in a couple times a year and play, he's fine at that role. But now to come into the season as a starting quarterback coming into week 1, I don't know what you can get from Sam Darnold, but throughout his career, he really hasn't done much, even though he's a highly touted prospect out of USC. And this could put this Minnesota DST in bad situations. I know they still got some players over there. I think Greenwood, they signed Andrew Van Ginkel in the offseason. Dallas Turner, they drafted the 17th pick overall, is this Minnesota Viking team. But they're in a division where there's some offenses that can move the football. Green Bay Packers, their offenses got a lot of speed. They got a lot of young players with Jordan Love under the helm. Chicago Bears, obviously, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, Caleb Williams at the quarterback position. So this NFC North, it's going to be a tougher division. And obviously the Lions, Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Sam Laporta. So it's going to be tougher for this Viking team, no doubt about it, going into the season. But they're always a unit that surprises at times, and they create turnovers with Harrison Smith in that secondary and put some points on the board occasionally. So that's the top 15 defense DST units I'm ranking entering the 2024 season.